Good morning, everybody. Stu Smith here, going live. Hope you guys are well. Happy Monday. And what we're going to do today is take some questions here after a minute or two of me talking about what I like to talk about, and that's things I read and do and experience. All having to do with fitness, of course. In fact, I was reading a couple of studies this weekend. Um, on how working out makes you smarter. And what's that mean, right? I read this meta-analysis that had, and I put the description and the link over here on YouTube. But anyway, it broke down various forms of activity: aerobic exercise, resistance training, stretching and mobility, um, meditation as an activity. So anyway, it broke down all these different types of exercise and what they do for you as far as benefits outside of the physical realm. I just thought it was interesting, and um, mainly it starts off like this. I'll just go through the benefits real quick. Aerobic exercise, anything, running, walking, swimming, cycling, uh, you name it, biking, elliptical, whatever you call aerobic activity, get your heart rate up a little bit, just moving. Long term and short term memory, attention to date, time, location, and focus ability. So, your attention, understanding and using both verbal and nonverbal language, and higher level processing like planning, problem solving, decision making. So, executive function. So, cognitive as well as executive function are all improved when you do some form of aerobic activity. Resistance training, obviously, there's countless benefits of resistance training physically, from stronger bones, stronger muscles, which make you generally more useful and harder to kill, in the words of um, legendary strength coach Mark Rippetoe. Um, But yeah, strengthening bones and muscles using calisthenics, weights, multi-joint movements, make us smarter, improve our executive function as well, but also helps us with emotional control, hormonal responses to stress, basically. Um, Benefits: stronger muscles. Yes, we all know that. But here's the deal: makes you live longer. The stronger your legs are, the more mobile you can be as you age, and that increases your chances of being independent as you are older, um, and allows you to move about and go be social, which enhances mental health. So, leg strength is really important. In fact, they're finding leg strength and grip strength are two um, resistance training benefits that aid in longevity. And weaker grip strength has been indicated with future disabilities in the elderly. Grip strength, common predictor of reduced dementia risk and improved cognitive abilities as well. A better quality of life is associated with a stronger grip strength. There's various reasons for why that is, but just being able to move around, grab things, pick things up, carry them here and there, all of those are adding to, once again, to your independence as well. Obviously, probably the biggest one for strength training as we age is muscles activate the neuromuscular system. Strength training, stronger muscles activate this system that aids in balance, which prevents falling. And breaking hips, stronger bones. Countless things that are beneficial. To just living longer. And balance is one of them. I don't know if you realize that, when an older person breaks a hip, it is usually the last thing that happens to them. complications from that usually means a death soon to follow. However, there are some people that are lucky that are able to heal from that and move on. But, anyway, there's more benefits to just basic exercise than you realize. I think a lot of people are neglecting way too much when they don't exercise. And it's hard to watch. I see it with family members that just are getting old and weak. And we have a decision, we have a choice where you can be old and strong. That's my choice. I don't know about yours, but that's mine. So, anyway, if you guys have questions, send them in. I'm happy to answer them. I've had several questions come in by email that I can pull up as well if you guys are um, slow on the draw. Let me just grab those real quick. Tomorrow I'll be back as well, and we'll do a live Q&A again with CSS critique. So if you have CSS you want me to critique, send it in. Happy to do that. All right, so here's a question. When progressing through PT, running, swimming schedules on the website and books on the off days, is rest more recommended or is some weight training in the gym okay if the nutrition's on point? Well, I mean, you do need to rest at some point and recover. It's just be smart about it. I mean, what we usually do is actually take a rest day, or at most, we turn it into a mobility day where you're just doing some easy cardio, some stretching, some full range motion movements. If we are doing some weights, but light, just working range of motion is pretty much the goal as our rest day. We don't go heavy and go lift on our rest day. I don't think that's wise, personally. I think if you want to add lifting, add it to the days where there is resistance training of a certain body part, and that's what you are allowed to lift. So, for instance, today we ran a hill. We mixed in some squats and lunges, for instance. Today would be one of those days if you wanted to add in squats or deadlifts or leg machines at the gym, you could. It would make sense because tomorrow is going to be an upper body day where we mix in calisthenics, some cardio, and there's some supplemental lifts that we can do later for the upper body that balance out that. So it makes a good 2 a day with recovery in mind because we're not touching legs again until Thursday. So we got to, or no, maybe Wednesday. I can't remember. Wednesday or Thursday. So anyway, that's it. It doesn't really matter if your nutrition's on point. I mean, it does. I mean, that's helpful. Nutrition and sleep being on point is key to your recovery. But depending on your age, you may not fully recover from what you're doing in the gym. And then tomorrow you're working the same muscle groups with calisthenics and cardio or whatever. And, you might feel like you not performing as well. I don't know. My advice is this: test it out, see how you feel, but be warned that you could be overdoing it, under recovering or overtraining, and then that starts to turn negative on you real quick. Yeah, just wanted to avoid injuring where it's not necessary. I mean, look, the way we mix in strength training, if you want to lift, because here's the deal: are you lifting for strength or are you lifting for conditioning? Two different animals. Okay. A lot of times guys will go to the gym just to get a pump. That's more of a conditioning thing. But if you're really going in to lift for strength in the middle of a cycle where you're trying to run faster, trying to get more reps on calisthenics, may not be a good combination for you to do. But if you're doing it just for conditioning, 10, 15 reps of some weight, probably not going to be a big deal. Um, but you have to be smart about it and have days of logical split routines in your week so you are actually recovering from that added lift, if that makes sense. Why do you think adults take the poor decision of not training? Man, I wish I had that answer. Um, I see so many excuses. I mean, think about every excuse you have heard why people don't train. Don't have time, don't like the gym, too cold outside, too hot outside, don't know how to start. So I think it's a mix of education, a mix of just being inspired to go do something and having no discipline to go do it. I don't know. I wish I had a good answer. If you guys have an answer why people don't trade, I'd love to hear it. Might be a good article. Let me see here. Let me see what else you got. Oh, we got a lot of questions over here on YouTube. Um, what are most important skills that one should learn in order to be a successful SEAL? Well, there's two things. Remember, there's three phases to this process. One, you need to learn how to take a fitness test to get accepted into the SEAL program. I have seen many people not prepare properly and they never pass that fitness test. The basic PST, it is something that you should practice and you should get good at. You should get really good at to a point where even on a bad day, you're going to pass it. No matter what you've done the day before, doesn't matter. You can pass it. That's phase one. Phase two, you got to start preparing yourself to get through the selection program, to get through BUDS. That is a specific training cycle that focuses on 4-mile timed runs, 2-mile swims, load bearing, running in sand, um, playing with sandbags to simulate log PT, bear crawling, all those little things that you're going to see again, rucking, um, and then be smart enough to be able to learn new skills when they show them to you, because that's what every week is going to be, some form of skill that you have to master. That may be knot tying, drown proofing, underwater swimming. That's just first phase, and then you got land nav, you got diving. So there's safety procedures you need to learn. All those things you need to be able to learn that week, replicate them, pass the test. That's not even being a SEAL. That's just being a student to become a SEAL. Then when you're at SEAL training or at SEAL teams, that's when the learning never stops. You are now learning to be part of a team, a very close knit team that gets things done together. Everything is about working together as a team. That's probably one of the biggest things. Just being a good guy, don't be lazy, and keep pushing and just realize you're lucky to be there. Be thankful that you're there, and never stop learning. Never start thinking about the guy next to you. That's what it takes. That's a good question. Let me see. I couldn't stay underwater in my wetsuit in the ocean at Buds, so it messed up my CSS. How should I work through that? Um, that's a good question. I mean, wetsuits are buoyant. Maybe get a thinner wetsuit. You can mess around and play around with some wetsuits. Maybe to get one that's not so tight, that it can kind of get some water in it and sink you down a little bit. Not quite sure. Be a little leaner so it balances out. don't be positively buoyant on top of wearing a wetsuit. That's going to pop you up for sure. Thoughts on swimming with shin splints, with and without fins? I mean, we do it. In fact, that's probably the one thing that you can do. Without fins, absolutely be swimming. Loosen up those ankles, work on some ankle mobility. That's going to help you with your shins. You might want to go with smaller fins versus the big rocket or jet fins when you have shin splints and swimming with fins, but do it. Tread water, tread water with fins, without fins. Loosen those ankles to where you got a good, point. You can flop it back and forth. That's going to help build the shin muscles. But yeah, do it. I got lots of thoughts on it, but the biggest one is, yeah, get in the water. Probably about the only thing you really can do besides biking, because running's going to hurt. Let's see. Morning, Stu. Do you have any advice on learning how to sleep anywhere and anytime? Well, if you're going to learn how to sleep anywhere and anytime, you need to be tired. That means you need to be working your ass off somewhere, because if you're not, chances are you're not going to sleep very well. So, one of those advantages that I just listed off at the beginning of exercising is it helps you sleep better. And that sleep better helps you recover better for the next day. And sometimes when people say, just too tired to go work out, you probably, because you didn't sleep very well, you probably need to go work out anyway, because that's going to help you sleep better later in the day. But yeah, lay off caffeine. I usually have my last caffeine, and it's just unsweet tea by noon. In fact, not having any right now because during Lent I gave it up, so I haven't had any caffeine since the week of Ash Wednesday. So I got like 40 days of no caffeine, and I'm hoping to be able to like wean off of that. And I'll be honest with you, it only takes like 3 or 4 days, and then the headache's gone, and you no longer are addicted to it. It might be a habit that you like grabbing something at the store every time you walk in. I've just been grabbing water instead. So, but yeah, that helps me. Don't drink any caffeine after lunch. Let's see. What are the most important skills that will help me? Oh, I just answered that one. Sorry. Lifting in the morning for strength. Then I wait at least 6 hours and do cardio. Been able to add strength while improving cardio. Yeah, you can do that. I mean, just depends on that. That's a good way to do it. It just depends on what you define as optimal, if that makes sense. Now, the reason why I say it doesn't work very well is typically it doesn't work very well. All right. And what I mean by that is if you want to get stronger and bigger at the same time as you're adding a lot of cardio, it's harder to do. You really need to nail down the recovery, need to add more calories because you're burning more calories. That's going to impact how you develop muscle. So, and it's also going to probably make your legs tired. That slows you down. So it may also impact speed of that cardio. You might be able to do some long, slow distance and be great at it. That's not a big deal. But are you seeing the results that you would see without the strength training for your cardio, or without the cardio for the strength training? That's where there's this little difference. If you're happy with the results you're seeing with both, you can definitely improve both. I'm just saying it's not going to be a quick linear process that goes up, and it never is, right? So be aware that both don't improve well together. That's all. They can be, they're just not the best way to do it. Does that make sense there, big fish? Now, maintaining both absolutely can be done all the time. And you can do those in the same hour if you wanted to. Do you have any dive school specific training plans? I mean, pretty much all of my SEAL, PST, the Navy PST Phase 1 program, has a ton of water confidence built in there, not just PST stuff. Navy SEAL, Recon, Air Force PJ, the Air Force Special Warfare Program, all have dive swimming slash dive prep workouts in them. But I don't have one that's just for dive school, right? You're also working on, things on land as well. A lot of people told me they don't train because they don't think it's important. Huh. I've seen that too. I think they're wrong. Do I do in-person classes? Yes. Every six days a week, I do a workout here right outside Annapolis, Maryland, where I coach and I do workouts right alongside them with people who want to serve. Those are the ones you can go to heroesoftomorrow.org and check out that webpage and I'll check out our schedule. But it's only for people who are preparing to serve, are currently serving, or we have some veterans that come back too and join us in that. But if you're just wanting a good workout with me, I don't do that. I don't do in-person personal training. I just do that group training class that I've been doing for 25 years. So the answer is yes, but it's not for everybody. And the good news is it's free for those who are preparing to serve, are serving, or have served. I don't charge for it. So my workouts, I just invite people. My buddy QED Cat says why people don't train. The discomfort of training outweighs the discomfort of not training. Ow, man. That hurts. That is like so backwards to me. Until training is seen as the lesser of two evils, inertia rules. That's a really valid point. And it's sad that it is so valid. But you're right. And we just get good at things we don't do. Right? Does that make sense? We get good at things we do, and we also get good at not doing them, is a better way to put it. So if you're not doing activities and anything of any physical exertion, you get good at being lazy and not doing them. When you start moving with a habit and some consistency of just moving, it doesn't have to be a hardcore workout at a gym. Doesn't even have to be touching weights. Just moving, walking, bending down, picking up stuff, squatting, doing a few push-ups, plank poses. Next thing you know, you got yourself a habit that is, once again, the inertia takes over. That's a good point. I appreciate that one. Have you tried my 50 and over program? Have I sent it to you? If I haven't, let me know. I'll send you the ebook. Because you actually helped me write that one. I was testing you guys out with it, so you might like it. Hey Stu, I was watching some of your videos and you said that you don't like creatine. Why? I understand you can't have it at selection, but do you not like it for some other reason? Good question. I've been all over the spectrum with creatine, and at the beginning, I absolutely did not like it. Because I saw it end people's spec ops dreams because they couldn't get through a selection or a pre-selection type training because they were overusing it, misusing it. Every of them were athletes that, when you're going through a 24-hour pre-selection type screener, you're going to miss out on some hydration a little bit. You try to stay on top of it if you can, but there's going to be moments when you can't. And full body cramps and ended. I mean, it was completely noticeable to the point of, the corpsmen and everybody there. Are you on creatine? Whenever they were starting to cramp up. And then, that helped us understand it wasn't necessarily a heat stroke type issue. It was a, you know, dehydration, could be on the border of heat stroke, but it was usually caused by over overdosing creatine. Okay. Now, that's just observation. Now, ever since then, I think we've gotten the doses right. That was back in the 90s. Definitely have gotten the dosing right. More studies have come out. It's probably one of the most studied uh, supplement out there. Um, I probably would say I microdose using it just because I've seen the benefits not only with longevity and brain function and recovery. It is quite useful. Um, but I don't take it with a purpose to try to build muscle and do all that. Um, so it depends on why, and how you're taking it. If you're someone young preparing for selection, I don't recommend it just because you can have it. Afterwards, you can have it all you want. When you're in the teams, if you feel like you need it, take it. I'm not knocking it anymore. I'm just saying be careful with it because I've just seen it when not used properly. Um, it can go the wrong way. And some people have kidney issues too. And not saying it's, you know, horrible on kidneys, but sometimes it can overwork the kidneys to a point where, if you have a stage of kidney, disease, as you get older, sometimes that happens. Um, I'm not sure where that should be addressed. Some people say, yes, it's okay. Some people say you really don't want a whole lot. So it's still all over the map for me. But that's why that's my history behind it. What do you think about whey powder? Would you recommend it for training? Yeah, I love whey protein. Just had some this morning. Also had some collagen. What rest times do you recommend for push-up, pull-up, sit-ups? I really don't. I have very minimal. I mean, if you're taking a max rep set, 2 minutes, that's what you're going to get in a fitness test. If you want to practice what the fitness test is, that's what I would do. If you're just doing it for a workout, like in a pyramid, your push-ups, when you do pull-ups, you're resting your push-up muscles. When you're doing sit-ups, you're resting your push-up and sit-up muscles. You add in a quick couple 100 yards, you're resting everything, but you're working your lungs and legs, right? So it's active rest. So I recommend more active rest whenever we're doing a lot of that versus um, versus taking minute rest in between pyramid sets. That'd take you forever. It's not really designed to take rest. Do your workouts compare to NDOC? I think my workouts are harder than NDOC. People will tell you that. Okay, cool. Good morning, Stu. Considering the coverage the Army got from Mogadishu, I guess, do you think the Navy's media coverage will rotate like the Army is right now? MOG. What? I'm not sure what you're talking about, Alex. I think every media coverage you see, you should take with a grain of salt. Especially most of the time. Um, Most of the time, we are living such a strange media cycle that you will see something on Friday and forgot it even happened on a Monday. And it's almost a non-issue anymore. And that's crazy. We're just inundated with news. So I'm sorry, that's not an answer. I don't know, be honest with you. But explain the MOG. I'm not sure what you're referring to there. Maybe I have a better answer. I mean, I could Google MOG, but I'm not sure what I get. Let's try that. Google machine. MOG Army. Maximum on ground. Yeah. And what are you referring to, basically? Okay. All right. Possibly too much info, but my backside gets rubbed raw when doing high rep sit ups. Is that normal or am I doing sit ups wrong? Well, let me just tell you this. At Buds, we would do sit ups on pavement and we'd wear these little tan kind of canvas shorts and they would just rub that little area on that butt bone. And everybody to the person had blood on their pants, on their shorts. And there's like a little strawberry back there. And every time you jumped into the ocean, there was this little twinge of pain that occurred. And we called that the grinder reminder. So we all had grinder reminders. Um, so I used to, when it was bothering me the most, just lean a little bit to the left and try try not to rub it as much. Lean to the left or lean to the right. And just put a little more weight on my butt cheek than my butt bone. But there's not a whole lot you can do about it. How long do you expect for the traditional 1-10-1 pyramid workout to take with 400 meters each set? Great question. I love this one. In fact, we're doing it tomorrow. Um, it usually takes us probably an hour because you got to figure if you're doing 400s for 19 sets, that's almost 5 miles. So you got at least 35 minutes, of running, maybe even 40. And then, 19 sets of pull up, push up, sit ups. Not really resting. You're constantly moving. You're resting while you run. Um, so it's a little over an hour. I would say some of the fastest guys we've had could do it in an hour. We're usually an hour 15 for most to finish. What if I can't still do the whole 110 pyramid? Well, that's okay. Just stop whenever you fail and then turn around and go back down. Now, if you're doing a 110 warm up that's at the top, so a lot of people confuse my warm ups because I like to do this little ladder, but I call it a half pyramid. So it's 1-10 means I'm a half pyramid going from 1 to 10. And I do one pull up, one push up, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6. There's no multiplying to it. It's just every set is you just add a rep. And you go up to 10-10 with some jogs in between, dynamic stretches in between, takes 10 minutes, and you're ready to do the workout. Whether that's lifting, we like to warm up with the calisthenics like that way, or it's more calisthenics. It's just a good way to warm up. And by the time you're up to 7 to 8, I feel pretty warmed up. 9, 10, I'm ready to go. And we start crushing. Leg days, same way. 1 to 10 squats, 55 squats, and you're done. If you can't do that, that's fine. Just stop whenever you fail. Or what we also do is we have guys use a TRX and finish the pull-ups that they can't do each set with the TRX. So let's say you get to 7 and you fail with 5. You owe 2 TRX rows. Let's say you go to 8 and you only get 4, and now you owe 4 TRX rows. So that's how we manage it with people who can't finish it. But if it's the full 1-10-1 pyramid, that's a different animal. What I like to do is go until I fail at pull-ups and push-ups, and then turn around and back down, or dips if you're adding dips in there, and then turn around back down. And if you can't do the pull-ups, you just use an easier version to finish the pull-ups. Does that make sense? All right. How do you know when to fail? Huh. Not sure what you're asking here. Sometimes people will stop a certain exercise, but will have the strength to do another exercise. I'm not sure what you mean when to quit doing an exercise and move on to something else. Um, I'm not sure, but if Pavel and I wrote a an article talking about uh, observe or listen to the stop signs. I like this um, way of explaining it. He has these stop signs of yeah, here you go. Check this out. So Pavel and I were on the phone chatting, kicking it back. You know, we're born the same year. He's born in Russia. I was born here. You know, it's kind of fun to talk with him. He's very smart. Um, but anyway, we wrote this article about minding the stop signs, and so the stop signs are right from his web page too, his Strong First website. Stop signs. When the rep speed slows down, that's one of the stop signs. When the tempo slows down, pauses in between reps increase, things like that, that's a stop sign. When breathing rhythm changes, when you're going through these reps and you're starting to huff and puff now, one of the stop signs. Technique changes in any way, you're shifting, you're readjusting, you're pausing, whatever. And the rate of perceived exertion, the RPE scale, exceeds 8 on the scale of 1 to 10. These are the stop signs. Now, why do we do them? Because we're trying to increase the volume by not failing. And it's a really good way to, um, have some recovery time built into your workout. Because I will tell you this, if you're like constantly failing set after set, like your total volume at the end of that workout could be significantly decreased because you haven't recovered enough to be able to do them again in a future set. Whereas if you just listen to that, like, ooh, okay, I'm on my 10th pull up. I could probably do 11, but it's going to be really tough, so I'm going to stop at 10. Right? So I always called that leaving one in the hole, right? Don't do that last one. A lot of times that's when people get hurt. You pull a muscle, you strain yourself, blow a pec, whatever. If you're benching heavy, leave that last one, and try not to fail, right? But there are times when you do want to fail. If you're trying to work on your volume, that's one of them. If you're trying to work on your strength, you want to save that for maybe your last few sets, to hit it hard, do a negative or something. Alex said, yes, Mogadishu, really asking if Navy Tier 1 will not be confirmed of existing. Yeah, I don't know anything about that, Alex. I mean, everybody knows they exist. So I'm not sure what we could do. Um, so anyway, I'm not sure if I answered your question, but yeah, hypertrophy, yeah, that's another good one as well. You can get more volume in there if you leave one in the hole, like I said. All right, let's see what else we got. Questions. Heard about the workouts you host in the DC area. Can you share some information? Yeah, I just mentioned it. Heroesoftomorrow.org. In fact, I'll even pull it up. In fact, I'll just write it down for you. heroesoftomorrow.org. Check it out. It'll take you to a page on my website, but that's our old address. It works really well. If you can make it, come join us. But check in with me first. Don't just show up, right, without actually communicating with me by email, and let me know you're coming. Do you have any protein powder at selection? No, you cannot. Now, can you go on the weekend and drive to a 7-Eleven and buy a muscle milk of some sort? Sure, you can do that. But you can't have any of that stuff in your room. But just remember, protein is food. My advice is to get your protein from food as best you can. Go eat extra burritos, beans and rice, chicken. That's where I would recommend getting your extra protein versus trying to find some powders for it. But if you need it, try to find some. How's being Navy SEAL during peacetime? It was, I think everything has its pros and cons. Whether you're at wartime, there's pros and cons, and when you're at peacetime, there's pros and cons. You tend to get spun up a lot in peacetime, like we may be going in to do this, we may be going in to do that, and you just get spun back down, and nothing happens, and that kind of sucks. You do that 5 or 6 times, you're like, this shit ain't gonna happen. But when it's 20 years of war, which no one thought would happen, if you look at previous wars, they last months instead of years, at least most recently, from the 90s, 80s, and 90s. No one had any idea it was going to go for that long. And there are some people, like in my day, people could retire and have never seen combat, right? And now, or last 20 years, people would retire and never have a peacetime deployment. Now they're starting to do that. But there's always that something is happening right now is a little bit different than the 90s. 90s were like almost nothing was going on that we were really involved with unless you were tier 1 unit. But now there's always something going on. There are people doing things now, when they thought they might be having a peacetime deployment and they're not. So I want to up my ruck times as well as the comfortability. How do I, 1, up my times, and 2, what's the best form to ruck is the same as running or something different? It is definitely something different. My advice is this: learn 3 paces. You're going to learn a walking pace, which you can kind of build your aerobic base with. And this is just fast walking, but you could do other things if you wanted to. You could be on your cell phone, talking to people, chilling out, right? But walking, right? Build a base of that. Multiple miles. Progressively increase weight and mileage. Then there's part 2 of that, which is power walking. Now you're trying to walk with a purpose, meaning fast walking. Can you get your walk under a 15-minute mile? That is just a good, solid standard. It's kind of like the Army minimum standard, for rucking, and it's pretty solid. Then the other one, if you really have built a good base of running and rucking together, rucking only a couple times a week, running a couple times a week, 2-3 times a week. Now you can start adding some speed to it. And the way you do that is you don't run, you do what's called kind of like a short stride shuffle, is what I call it. Where instead of a running stride, it's about 50% of that. So you have a higher cadence of your feet moving, but it looks like you're running. You're just running with short strides. And that's going to help you keep your feet flatter as you feel the weight of each step versus opening up that stride and maybe, you know, feeling a little bit more in your heels, or, you know, even if you're, you know, you're very comfortable running midfoot strike, sometimes it's hard when you have weight for a midfoot strike and um, and you have boots on. So you gotta your ankle mobility might be a little hampered by those boots, and sometimes it's a heel strike when you're even trying to not run, right? So you got to shorten that stride a little bit. If you have run shoes on, you could probably open it up a little bit more and have a little different foot position when you hit. So that's how we do it. What would you recommend for me continue to train? I don't know, man. MA continue to train? I'm not sure what you're asking. Just train. What would you recommend when blisters are on the feet and continue to train? Yeah. Yeah, it sucks. Usually what we do when you have active blisters, well, first of all, I wore two pair of socks. One thin pair of polyester nylon blend that was kind of like church socks, you know, no cotton in it, right? That was my skin sock. And then outside was your normal issue military sock. It's wool, cotton blend, whatever. Um, and you know those would really cause a blister. But with that layer of, you know, a thin, almost like a pantyhose sock, almost very thin, but no dirt could get in there, no sand could get in there. I'd never had a blister at Buds. My feet were wet, soaked every day. Um, that was very helpful for me. But when I did get hot spots or blisters, and I've had them before, I would pop the blister, you know, clean it out really well with alcohol, and then cover it with a bandage, a lot of Vaseline in it. Like try to put a little glob of Vaseline on that blister, and then cover it well so Vaseline doesn't leak out. That helped a lot. And then at the end of the day, you get all the Vaseline off and douse it with alcohol and let it dry and get hard. And you won't have to go through that for many days. But you can Google foot care, and there's a ton of information out there. Army has it, Marine Corps has it. You can learn a lot from some of their foot care recommendations. All right, guys, last question. I need to go. Um, what are some strategies for improving max reps of pull ups? For context, I can do 20 plus in the first set and quickly fall off from there. Well, it's a muscle stamina issue. It's not a strength issue. So my advice is maybe do 3 upper body workouts a week where you get a lot of volume. Try to pump up that volume to 100 reps, um, you know, in a upper body day. So we do 3 favorite workouts to do this. One is just your regular pyramid that we discussed earlier, 110 back to 1. It's 100 pull-ups. You do 10 sets of 10 on like 2 days later, with a superset, 10 sets of 10, 10 sets of 10, you know, mix in push-ups and sit-ups and running, and, you know, make it a superset of little circuit. And then there's the big one. This is where you get all your money, especially if you're over 20 pull-ups, is um, you max rep every set, right? And this is when you fail. So when you ask me when do you want to fail, this is it. So max rep many as you can, and when you like think you got your last one, um, you know, hop off, change grips real quick, get maybe 1 or 2 more reverse grip. Now you might have 18 to 20 somewhere in there, 22, whatever. Just keep track of it. Do your other rest exercises, you know, pull ups or push ups, sit ups, running, you know, just get some activity in there, get the blood out of your upper body, and then come back to that second set, do the same thing, max rep. And let's see how few sets you can do 100 pull-ups. This is the moneymaker right here. This is like that workout that I recommend people to do who are at 15 to 20 and want to get, you know, 25, even 30. That's the workout we do. And we only do it once a week. And in about 5 or 6 weeks, you will see you're now pushing that envelope, right? That you've been stuck at, at this plateau, right? You're now pushing levels that you haven't seen before because you're learning how to do that with this workout. So it works really well, but I only do it once a week. So check out, in fact, I'll leave you an article to read since I have to go. My 3 favorite workouts to crush any fitness test and how to use them. Check this out. This is some good free information for you folks. That's what I do, right? So if you're over here on Instagram, I'll put the link in here for you, and you won't be able to click it, but you can at least see what I'm talking about. 3 favorite workouts to crush. You can Google that and find it. So, all right. So, all right. I do need to go, but I got one more question here. Hey, Stu, I've been doing your program, but I'm weak as hell. I saw your collab with Jeff Nichols that I should be able to do squat, deadlift, bench around 350, 225. Kind of do a 5x5 workout. Yeah, but here's the deal. If you're weak, do a strength exercise, strength training program, lift, right? Maybe maintain some cardio, but don't try to like crush your cardio or crush your calisthenics. Focus on getting stronger, right? And those numbers are kind of an average, right? My way of looking at this, if you can max rep bench your body weight for 10 plus, you're kind of strong enough on the bench press. If you can do 20, even better. It's kind of like the gold standard 20 plus of your body weight. So you're a 180 pound guy, you should be able to do 180, 15, 20 times if you want a good base, right? For squats and deadlifts, 1.5 times your body weight. So, 200-pound guy, 300. Do you need to be doing 350? It's not a bad thing to be able to do it, but you don't need to. 1.5 times your body weight is sufficient. I'm telling you, it is, right? I got an assessment tool that we came up with and a podcast in there with Jeff, and we talk about all these numbers right here in that. So check it out. And these are just averages of people who I have seen over the last 25 years go through any selection, and this is where they were on their strength, their muscle stamina, their PST scores, some of the workouts we do, what they were able to do them in, their longer runs, their rucks, all of that. So check that out. That may give you a better idea of what I recommend you be. But let me just tell you this. Just because I make a recommendation of this doesn't mean you have to be at that, because I have seen people nowhere near these scores still get through. So it's not a perfect system, because here's what it doesn't account for. It doesn't account for you being mentally tough and pushing through whatever obstacles in front of you, whether that's a 4-mile time run and it's a gut check for you just to pass, and you pass it every week, and you never even came close to a 30-minute mile or 30-minute 4-mile timed run until buds, right? Sometimes that happens. And then you have, folks that hardly ever lift weights at all, but they have just wiry strong. They've been working on construction or a farm or something and just tough. So it doesn't take into account that. So we try to give you some good standards to shoot for, and that'll build a good foundation. And then everything else, it's on you on how tough you're going to be when you're tired and hungry and cold and wet. It doesn't take those into account. And I've seen guys that crushed all these numbers, and when they got tired and cold and wet and people yelling at them, telling them they sucked, worst student ever, it collapsed them. And they just couldn't handle that of the training. So anyway, that's it. Boys, folks, I need to go. If you haven't checked out my TikTok over at StuSmith50. You can. That's also my same address on Instagram. If you're looking for CSS videos, tons of CSS videos over there. Highly recommend it. If I missed your question, just send it right here. This little ticker, stu@stusmith.com. Check out my website, stusmithfitness.com. Tons of articles over there. Use the Live15 coupon code. Save yourself 15% on some books and ebooks. I appreciate you listening this long, and I will see you tomorrow. You guys have a good one.